Hey, you guys. Before we dive into today's story, don't forget to hit subscribe, especially if you love those unsettling, almost too real stories that make you question what's real and what's manipulation.
You know that feeling, right? You're absolutely certain you left your keys on the kitchen counter. You can picture them, sitting right next to the salt shaker. You'd bet your life on it, but they're not there. You search the whole house, getting progressively more frantic until you find them in the pocket of yesterday's jeans. For a second, you question your own mind. Am I losing it? It's a fleeting, harmless thought. But what if someone was standing next to you, watching you search, knowing they moved the keys, and then said with a soft, concerned voice, "Honey, you're so forgetful lately. Are you feeling okay?" Now imagine that happening every day, not just with your keys, but with your memories, your feelings, your entire perception of reality. That, my friend, is where the funhouse mirror of gaslighting begins. It's not just lying. It's a slow, deliberate erosion of your sanity, brick by brick. It's someone becoming the architect of your reality, and you don't even realize they've submitted the blueprints. They hand you a version of the world where you are always wrong, always overreacting, always crazy, and they do it with such conviction that you start to believe it. It's like they have a dimmer switch for your confidence, and they're just slowly, patiently turning it down until you're sitting in the dark, wondering if there was ever any light at all.
So, let's rewind. Before the shadows and the self-doubt, there was the meet cute. Of course there was. Every good psychological thriller starts as a romance, right? You met him, we'll call him Alex, at a friend's party. It wasn't just a simple, hello. It was one of those moments that felt scripted by a Hollywood writer. You were awkwardly trying to grab the last olive from a bowl, and suddenly he was there, smoothly handing it to you with a smile that could disarm nations. The conversation that followed was electric. He didn't just listen. He seemed to absorb your words. He got your obscure movie references, laughed at your dumbest jokes, and looked at you like you were the most fascinating creature he'd ever encountered. It felt less like a first meeting and more like a reunion, a recognition. You talked for what felt like 10 minutes, but was actually 3 hours, huddled in a corner of the noisy party, the rest of the world fading into a muted blur. He seemed to understand the parts of you that you didn't even have words for yet. It was intoxicating. This wasn't just chemistry. It felt like destiny. You went home that night feeling like you were floating, replaying every word, every glance. You told your friends, "I think I just met my soulmate." And why wouldn't you? He was perfect, almost too perfect. And then came the flood. You now know it as love bombing, but at the time, it just felt like the greatest romance ever written. Your phone became a constant shrine to his affection. You'd wake up to a long, poetic paragraph about the dream he had about you. Throughout the day, a steady stream of thinking of you texts. He sent flowers to your office for no reason, making your coworkers swoon. He planned elaborate dates, remembered throwaway comments you made weeks ago, and presented you with the perfect, thoughtful gift. It was a full-scale assault of adoration. And honestly, it felt incredible. Who wouldn't want that? You felt cherished, prioritized, seen. You were the sun, and his world revolved around you. He'd say things like, "I've never felt this way about anyone before," and "It's like my whole life was black and white until I met you." It was a powerful drug, and you were hooked. Here's the thing about love bombing, though. It's not just about making you feel good. It's about establishing a baseline. It sets this incredibly high, unsustainable standard of how things should be. It forges a powerful dependency, making you crave that level of intensity. He wasn't just building a relationship, he was building a pedestal. And he was building it so high that the idea of ever stepping off it, or God forbid, being knocked off it, was terrifying. You were so busy enjoying the view from the top, you never thought to check the foundations. Amidst this tidal wave of perfect romance, the first little oddities started to appear. They weren't red flags, they were more like pinkish beige flags, barely noticeable. You'd be getting ready to go out, feeling great in a new dress, and he'd say something like, "Oh, you're wearing that? It's bold." Then, seeing your face fall, he'd immediately laugh it off. "Hey, I'm just kidding. You look amazing. God, you're so sensitive sometimes." And just like that, the discomfort was flipped back onto you. The problem wasn't his weird comment, it was your sensitivity. Or you'd bring up a fun memory from a few weeks prior, something he'd said that made you laugh. And he'd look at you with a blank, slightly confused face. "I never said that. You must be thinking of someone else." He'd say it with such absolute, unwavering certainty that you'd feel a jolt of confusion. Did I imagine it? You were so sure, but his confidence was a bulldozer to your memory. You'd just let it go. "Huh, weird, I could have sworn." These were tiny moments, easily dismissed. You'd rationalize them away because, well, look at everything else. Look at the flowers, the texts, the adoration. This man worships you. He wouldn't deliberately try to make you feel bad or question yourself. That would be crazy. So, the logical conclusion wasn't that he was being manipulative. The logical conclusion was that you were being too sensitive. You were misremembering. The problem, you decided, must be with you. This is the genius of early-stage gaslighting. It recruits you to do the heavy lifting. He just plants the seed of doubt, and you're the one who waters it. While you were busy questioning your own sensitivity levels, another, more subtle strategy was unfolding. The great isolation. It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't a dramatic demand to cut off your friends. It was far more clever than that. It started with little comments planted like seeds. You'd be getting ready to go out with your best friend, Sarah, and he'd sigh, "Oh, okay, it's just... Sarah seems a little competitive with you, don't you think? I just worry she doesn't have your best interests at heart like I do." He'd frame it as concern, as protection. He wasn't the bad guy, he was the hero trying to save you from your secretly toxic friends. Then came the guilt trips, disguised as romance. "You're going out with them again? I was hoping we could just have a quiet night in. I miss you so much when you're gone." How do you argue with that? He just loves you so much. So you cancel, just this once. Then it happens again. And again. Your world, which was once a sprawling map of friends, family, and hobbies, starts to shrink. The borders close in until the only country on the map is us. He becomes your primary source of social interaction, your confidant, your advisor. And here's the kicker. Once you're in that bubble, his version of reality is the only one you hear. There's no one on the outside to say, "Hey, that thing he said was really weird," or "Are you okay? You don't seem like yourself lately." You lose your reality check squad. Your support system is quietly dismantled, not with a bang, but with a whisper of, "I just want you all to myself." And you, high on the romance and convinced of his undying love, willingly hand him the scissors. So there you are, handing him the scissors, and he gets to work. With your support system carefully pruned away, the real architectural work on your psyche can begin. The little memory blips? They graduate into full-blown historical revisionism. You remember that conversation you had last Tuesday, where you both agreed to save up for a trip to the coast? The one where you mapped out potential routes and looked at quirky seaside hotels? Well, get this, it never happened. When you bring it up excitedly a week later, he looks at you with a gentle, pitying confusion. "A trip? Honey, what are you talking about? We never discussed that. You know we can't afford that right now." You insist. You remember the light coming through the window, the name of the hotel you joked about? But his denial is a brick wall. "Babe, I think you dreamt that. You have such vivid dreams." And he says it with such kindness,
such genuine concern for your overactive imagination, that the floor drops out from under you. It's one thing to forget where you put your keys. It's another thing to be told a detailed, hour-long conversation you vividly recall was a complete fabrication. Your mind becomes a funhouse mirror. You look into it, searching for a clear reflection of the past, but all you see is a distorted, confusing, and unreliable version of yourself staring back. He's no longer just the architect of your reality. He's the bouncer at the door of your own memories, and he's decided you're not on the list. Once he's established that your memory is about as reliable as a chocolate teapot, he can move on to the next level, weaponizing your own personality against you. Everyone has insecurities, right? Little anxieties or personality quirks. Well, in his hands, these become the explanation for everything. You have a history of being a bit anxious in social situations? Perfect. Now, anytime you raise a valid concern about the relationship, it's not a valid concern. It's just your anxiety talking. You're upset that he came home 3 hours late without a call? Honey, don't spiral. You know how you get. Take a deep breath. There's no reason to be anxious. See what he did there? He masterfully reframed his disrespectful behavior as your psychological problem. You aren't reacting to his actions, you're having an episode. It's brilliant in a diabolical sort of way. Your feelings are no longer valid data points about the world. They're symptoms of your inherent brokenness. If you're naturally a passionate and expressive person, your passion becomes hysteria. Your expressiveness becomes drama. He takes the very essence of who you are and twists it into a pathological flaw. You start to police your own emotions. Before you speak, you ask yourself, is this a real feeling, or am I just being anxious? Am I being passionate, or am I just being dramatic? You begin to believe that your natural reactions are untrustworthy, that your emotional compass is broken. He doesn't have to control you anymore, because he's taught you how to control yourself. Now that you're isolated, confused, and self-policing, it's time to introduce a classic tool of control: withholding. Remember that fire hose of affection from the beginning? The love bombing? That's now a tap he can turn on and off at will, and you, conditioned to crave that validation, will do anything to get it flowing again. It works like this. You do something he approves of. Cancel plans with a friend, agree with his distorted version of a memory, apologize for being too sensitive, and you're rewarded. The warmth returns. The I love yous, the cuddles, the praise. You feel a wave of relief. Ah, there he is, the man I fell in love with. Everything is okay again. But then, you slip up. Maybe you question something he said. Maybe you have your own opinion about a movie. Maybe you just seem a little too happy and independent for his liking. And then, click. The tap is turned off. The warmth vanishes. He's not angry, not yelling. That would be too obvious. He's just gone. He's in the same room, but he's a million miles away. You get one-word answers. The silent treatment. A cold shoulder in bed. It's an invisible punishment, but it's devastatingly effective. Your brain, addicted to the highs of his approval, goes into withdrawal. You become frantic. What did I do wrong? How do I fix it? You start replaying every moment, every word, desperately trying to pinpoint your mistake. You apologize for things you didn't even do, just to end the chilling silence. You learn, without ever being explicitly told, which behaviors earn you warmth and which earn you ice. It's a masterful, silent training regimen. You become a perfectly conditioned pet, constantly seeking the approval of your master. This is the point in the game where they bring in reinforcements. See, it's one thing for him to think you're unstable. It's much more effective if everyone thinks you're unstable. This is where the smear campaign begins, and it's often disguised as deep concern. He'll call your mom. I'm just so worried about her lately, he'll say, his voice dripping with feigned sincerity. She's so forgetful, and her moods are all over the place. I'm doing my best to take care of her, but it's a lot. He's not just talking to your mom. He's planting a narrative. He's positioning himself as the long-suffering saint, and you as the fragile, difficult patient. He might do it with mutual friends. Has she seemed a little off to you guys? She told me this crazy story the other day that she completely imagined. Now, when you finally gather the courage to confide in someone, to say, I think something is wrong, he's messing with my head, you're met with looks of pity. They don't see a victim of abuse, they see the unstable person Alex has been describing for weeks. Oh, honey, your mom might say, Alex told me you've been under a lot of stress. You know he loves you so much. Your reality is not only denied by your partner, but it's also invalidated by the very people you thought you could trust. You're completely surrounded. It creates an echo chamber of your own alleged insanity. Everywhere you turn, you hear whispers of your own fragility, your own confusion, your own drama. It's the final checkmate. How can you trust your own gut when the entire world is telling you your gut is broken? So, how do you trust your gut when it's been publicly declared a public menace? You don't. You can't. You're now living in the aftermath of that checkmate in a state of constant low-grade panic. Your home is no longer a sanctuary. It's a minefield. You're not walking on eggshells. That's too delicate a metaphor. You're the star of your own personal bomb disposal movie, and every single interaction is a choice between the red wire and the blue wire. You find yourself analyzing everything. The tone of his good morning, the way he puts his mug down on the counter. Is that an aggressive placement of porcelain? Was that sigh a sign of impending doom or just, breathing? You become a hyper-vigilant detective of moods, an expert in the subtle forensics of his displeasure. You rehearse conversations in your head before they happen, trying to predict and neutralize any potential conflict before it can ignite. You choose your words with the precision of a poet, not for beauty, but for safety. You become bland, agreeable. You sand down all your interesting edges and opinions until you're smooth, frictionless, and easy to be around. Your personality becomes an exercise in camouflage. The goal is no longer to be happy, or to be loved, or even to be understood. The goal is simply to get through the day without setting off a bomb. It is exhausting. It's the kind of soul-deep tired that sleep can't fix, because your brain never, ever clocks out. And even with all that self-censorship, you still mess up, because the rules are always changing. One day, you manage to catch him in a clear, undeniable lie. Not a memory thing, but a fact. He said he was working late, but his friend posts a picture of them at a bar. Busted. You think, finally, here is a piece of solid ground, a fact. So you calmly, gently present this evidence. You're not accusatory, you're just stating the fact. And this is where the next magic trick comes in, the incredible shrinking problem. He doesn't deny it. He can't. Instead, he looks at you, sighs, and says, "Oh my God, relax. A few of us went for one drink after work. Why are you making such a big deal out of nothing?" And poof. Just like that, the issue is no longer his lie. The issue is your reaction. You are, once again, the problem. You are overreacting. You are dramatic. You are blowing things out of proportion. He takes your legitimate hurt and anger, puts it under a microscope, and declares it to be a monstrous overreaction to a tiny, insignificant event. You're left standing there, holding the proof, but suddenly the proof doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you, once again, have failed the be cool test. You start to question if maybe he's right. Is it a big deal? Am I overreacting? Maybe a normal girlfriend would just laugh it off. The goalposts for what's acceptable have been moved so many times, you don't even know what game you're playing anymore. This minimization tactic doesn't just apply to his behavior. It applies to your entire life. Everything that makes you, starts to get the "it's not a big deal" treatment. That pottery class you love? the one that gives you a sense of peace and accomplishment, he starts calling it your little mud pie hobby. He doesn't forbid you from going, of course. He just subtly belittles it until the joy is sucked right out of it. You sit at the wheel, and all you can hear is his voice in your head, mocking you. That book club with your friends? Don't you guys just sit around and gossip? Your favorite TV show? God, that's such trash. I can't believe you watch that. Each comment is a tiny pinprick, but hundreds of pinpricks can deflate anything. Your passions, your interests, the things that once defined you and gave you a sense of self, are trivialized. They are reframed as silly, childish distractions. And the unspoken message is clear. The only thing that should be taken seriously, the only thing of real importance in your life, is him and the relationship. Your world, once rich with texture and color from your own hobbies and friendships, is being systematically painted over in 50 shades of beige. He's not just isolating you from people anymore. He's isolating you from yourself. He's making you embarrassed of the things you love, until the only thing left to love is him. And then, one day, a glitch in the matrix. It's never a big, dramatic movie moment. It's always something small, something stupid. You're doing laundry, a mountain of his clothes, because of course you are. You're on autopilot, just going through the motions, your mind a dull hum of anxiety. You reach into the pocket of his jeans to check for tissues or change, and you feel a piece of paper. You pull it out. It's a receipt. A receipt from a fancy restaurant, a table for two, from the night he was supposedly working late and grabbed a burger by himself. The date, the time, the 2 expensive entrees, it's all there. And in that instant, the fog that has been clouding your mind for months, maybe years, suddenly and violently clears. It's not a suspicion. It's not a feeling. It's not something he can twist or deny or call you sensitive about. It is cold, hard, factual proof. It's a binary yes or no answer in a world where he has only ever dealt in maybes and you're imagining things. For one stark, terrifying, and unbelievably liberating moment, with a certainty that resonates in your bones, that you are not crazy. Your gut was right all along. The world snaps back into focus. The colors seem brighter. The air feels clearer. You are not the problem. The problem is him. And you're holding the evidence in your hand. You're holding the evidence in your hand. And it feels heavy. Not just the weight of the paper, but the weight of the truth. For the first time in what feels like a lifetime, you are anchored to something real. This flimsy piece of thermal paper is more solid than any promise he's ever made, more reliable than any memory you've tried to cling to. The initial shock gives way to a cold, crystalline rage, not the hot, hysterical anger he always accuses you of, but something clean and sharp. It's the kind of anger that clarifies things. You smooth the receipt out on the dryer, you read it again and again. Each word, filet mignon, pinot noir, table for two, is a nail in the coffin of the reality he built for you. You feel a surge of power that is so unfamiliar, it's almost frightening. This isn't about your feelings. This isn't about your sensitivity. This is about facts. You fold the receipt carefully, like a sacred text, and slip it into your pocket. You're not going to scream. You're not going to cry. You're going to do something far more terrifying to a man like him. You're going to be calm. You're going to present the evidence. And you're going to watch him squirm when he realizes his magic trick has finally been exposed. He comes home, and you wait. You let him do his usual routine, kick off his shoes, complain about his day, kiss you on the cheek like nothing is wrong. The casual domesticity of it all makes your skin crawl. You let him get comfortable on the couch. Then, you walk over, your heart hammering against your ribs, but your hand steady.
You don't say a word. You just hold out the receipt. He glances at it. Then he does a double take. For a split second, a glorious, beautiful, validating split second, you see it. Pure, uncut panic. The mask slips. His eyes widen. He sucks in a breath. He's caught. He knows it. You know it. But then, something incredible happens. The panic vanishes, replaced by a mask of deep, profound hurt. He doesn't look at the receipt again. He looks at you. And he says, with a voice trembling with betrayal, "You went through my pockets." And just like that, the entire universe tilts on its axis. He did it. The absolute madman actually did it. He didn't deny the lie. He didn't apologize. He changed the subject so completely, so masterfully, that you almost get whiplash. The crime is no longer his infidelity, his deception. The crime is your violation of his privacy. You're standing there holding a grenade with the pin pulled, and he's calmly pointing out that you have a smudge on your face. You try to hold your ground. That's not the point, Alex. The point is you lied to me. But you're playing checkers, and he's playing 4D chess in a language he invented. The point, he says, standing up, his voice now filled with a sorrowful righteousness, is that I can't even have privacy in my own home. That you don't trust me. He's on the offensive now. He might even try to cry. It's a truly spectacular performance. And if the attack on your methods doesn't fully work, he'll pivot again to the blame apology. Okay, fine. You want to know the truth? Yes, I had dinner with my ex. She was having a breakdown, her life is a mess, and she needed a friend. I knew if I told you, you'd get like this. You'd get all crazy and insecure. I lied to protect you from your own reaction. I was trying to spare your feelings. It's breathtaking. It's a work of art. He confesses to the lie, but frames it as a noble sacrifice he made for you. He lied because you're crazy. His deception was an act of kindness to manage your instability. So not only is he not the villain, he's actually the long-suffering hero, and you, by discovering the truth, have proven his point for him. You reacted exactly as he predicted, confirming his narrative that you're too unstable to handle the truth. It's a circular, inescapable logic trap. Any anger you show is just more evidence for his case against you. And so, you just stop. The fight drains out of you. What's the point? The cold, hard fact you were clinging to has been melted down, twisted, and reforged into a weapon to be used against you. The clarity you felt in the laundry room begins to fog over again. The vibrant colors of your righteous anger fade back to that familiar, murky gray. You look at him, at this man who can look at undeniable proof of his own betrayal and somehow make it your fault, and you feel a profound sense of exhaustion. You came into this confrontation feeling powerful, sane, and justified. You are leaving it feeling confused, guilty, and, well, crazy. Did you overreact? Is it wrong to go through someone's pockets, even if you suspect something? The black and white certainty is gone, replaced by 1,000 shades of self-doubt. He has successfully muddied the waters so completely that you can no longer see the bottom. The anchor of truth you found is gone, and you are adrift again in his sea of confusion. He sees the fight go out of your eyes and knows he's won. He might even come over and hug you, whispering, "It's okay, we'll get through this. I forgive you." And the most insane part of it all, a small part of you is actually grateful. And grateful is the word, isn't it? Grateful for the quiet. Grateful that the fight is over. Grateful to be forgiven for the crime of discovering his betrayal. This is the new normal. You now exist in a state of profound cognitive dissonance. It's like being a spy in your own life. There are two of you now. The outer you, the one who smiles and nods and passes the salt, and the inner you, the one who holds the receipt like a holy relic, the one who knows.
You go through the motions of the relationship. You laugh at his jokes. You let him hold your hand, but on the inside, you're just watching. You're an actor playing the part of loving girlfriend, and you're watching your own performance with a detached clinical interest. Every "I love you" from him lands like a thud. You can see the calculation behind his eyes, the subtle mechanics of his manipulation. The magic is gone. You see the wires, the trapdoors, the smoke and mirrors. But you can't leave the theater. You're part of the act now. The silence in the house isn't peace. It's the cold, tense quiet of a ceasefire. You know the truth, and he knows you know. And you both know that you're going to pretend you don't. It is a silent, unspoken agreement to live inside the lie, because the effort of fighting it was just too much. Living a double life is exhausting, and your body starts to keep score. The hypervigilance, the constant self-monitoring, the effort of suppressing your own reality, it all starts to take a physical toll. You're tired all the time. Not just, "I need a coffee" tired, but a deep, bone marrow fatigue that feels like you're walking through wet cement. You get headaches. Your stomach is always in knots. You find yourself staring into space for long stretches, your brain just buffering. This is what's known as brain fog. You'll walk into a room and forget why you're there. You'll lose your train of thought mid-sentence. Your once sharp mind now feels sluggish and unreliable, which, of course, plays perfectly into his narrative that you're forgetful and all over the place. You're so focused on managing the external world of his moods that your own internal world starts to fall apart. It's like your body is a phone that's been running too many apps in the background for too long. The battery is permanently in the red, the processor is overheating, and the whole system is on the verge of a total shutdown. You feel like you're aging in dog years, the stress carving little lines of worry into your face that weren't there before. You are physically deteriorating under the weight of the lie. And the good times? They become the weirdest form of torture. Now that he forgave you, he might lay on the charm extra thick to prove what a great forgiving guy he is. He'll plan a romantic dinner. He'll buy you a gift. He'll say all the things that used to make you melt, but now you just feel nothing. Or worse than nothing, you feel a kind of queasy revulsion. It's like watching a rerun of your favorite movie after finding out the lead actor is a terrible person. You can't enjoy it anymore. The magic is tainted. You see his affection not as a genuine emotion, but as a tool, a currency, a way to keep you compliant. You smile and say thank you, playing your part, but inside, you're thinking, what does this gift cost me? What is this hug supposed to make me forget? The love bombing that once felt like a warm blanket now feels like a weighted net, designed to hold you in place. It becomes a source of profound loneliness. You're sitting across from this person who is ostensibly showering you with love, and you have never felt more alone in your entire life, because you know it's not real. It's a performance for an audience of one, and you're no longer buying a ticket. This is it. This is the moment you truly lose yourself. It's not a sudden event. It's a slow, quiet fade to gray. One day, you catch your reflection in a shop window, and for a half second, you don't recognize the person staring back. The eyes look dull. The posture is slumped. The spark that used to be there is just gone. You think back to the person you were before you met him. A person who had strong opinions, who laughed loudly, who trusted their own mind. Where did she go? It feels like you're a ghost haunting the house of your own body. You're just an operator, making sure the machinery of your life keeps running, but you're not living in it. Your own thoughts and feelings have been so consistently invalidated that you stop having them, or at least you stop trusting them. You're a blank slate, a hollowed-out version of a human. When a friend asks for your opinion on a movie, you draw a blank. What is my opinion? You've spent so long mirroring his that you've forgotten how to form your own. This is the ultimate goal of gaslighting. It's not just about controlling you, it's about erasing you.
It's about turning a vibrant, unique, sovereign individual into a compliant, empty vessel. And as you stand there, looking at that stranger in the reflection, you realize with a sickening finality, he won. He did it. He made you disappear. He made you disappear. And here's the funny thing about winning. It's boring. For a guy like Alex, the thrill was in the game, the chase, the slow and meticulous dismantling of a person. Now that the project is complete, now that you're this perfectly compliant, hollowed-out shell, he's lost interest. The puppet that doesn't fight back isn't much fun to play with. So he gets careless. He gets lazy. The elaborate manipulations are replaced with a kind of bored contempt. The lies are sloppier. The insults are more overt. He doesn't have to be clever anymore, because you've been trained not to question anything. You drift through your days in a gray fog. You make the coffee. You do the laundry. You agree that the sky is green if he says it is. There's no fight left in you. You are a ghost in the machine of your own life, a polite tenant in a body you no longer own. You are at the absolute bottom. And the thing about rock bottom is that it provides a surprisingly solid place to stand if you can just find your feet. The moment that changes everything isn't dramatic. It's pathetic, really. He's watching some old black and white movie and laughs. "Look at this guy," he says, pointing at the screen. "He's totally gaslighting his wife. It's hilarious." He says the word gaslighting casually, like he's commenting on the weather. He has no idea he just handed you the key to your own prison cell. The word hangs in the air. You've heard it before, maybe, but it never connected. But now, in this hollowed-out state, it piques a flicker of something. Not even curiosity, just a blank space to be filled. Later that night, you can't sleep. You're on your laptop, numbly scrolling through social media, a digital zombie. And on a whim, you open a search engine. Your fingers, acting of their own accord, type out the word he said. Gaslighting. You stare at the blinking cursor for a moment. Then you type more. What does it mean when someone says you're crazy? You hit enter. Not with any hope, not with any expectation. You're just a ghost, pulling a lever to see what happens. You click the first link, a psychology website, and there it is, a definition. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which a person seeks to sow seeds of doubt in a targeted individual, making them question their own memory, perception, and sanity. You stop breathing. You read it again. Question their own memory, perception, and sanity. A jolt goes through you, a spark of electricity in a long dead circuit. It's like finding a dictionary for a language you've been forced to speak your whole life without ever understanding the words. It's the moment in a horror movie when the protagonist finally finds the ancient book that names the demon that's been haunting them. Naming it doesn't kill it, but it tells you it's real. It's not just in your head. It has a name. You scroll down. The article describes the origin, the 1938 play and 1944 film, Gaslight, where a husband manipulates his wife into thinking she's going insane by, among other things, secretly dimming and brightening the gas-powered lights in their home. The metaphor is so painfully, precisely on the nose that you almost let out a choked laugh. He wasn't just gaslighting you. He was dimming your entire world, and you were the only one who noticed the flicker. Then you see it, a listicle. The 7 telltale signs of gaslighting. Your heart starts to pound. You click. Number 1, they tell blatant lies. A flash of the restaurant receipt. Check. Number 2, they deny they ever said something, even though you have proof. The conversation about the coastal trip that never happened. Check. Number 3, they use what is near and dear to you as ammunition. Your pottery class, your friends, your family. Check. Number 4, they wear you down over time. The constant anxiety, the exhaustion, the brain fog. Check. Number 5, their actions do not match their words.
The endless I love yous, followed by the cold, silent punishment. Check. Number 6. They tell you you're crazy. Check. Number 7. They tell you everyone else is a liar. Your friends who were competitive, your family who didn't understand. Check. Mate. It's not a list, it's your biography. It's the playbook he used against you, page by agonizing page. You feel sick. You feel validated. You feel a white-hot volcanic rage building in your chest where your heart used to be. Every instance of self-doubt, every tearful apology for something you didn't do, every moment of confusion, it all clicks into place. It wasn't random. It was a strategy, a deliberate, calculated campaign. And you're looking at the battle plan. You're looking at the battle plan, and that volcanic rage? It's useful for a minute. It's the rocket fuel that gets you off the ground. But you can't fly to the moon on rocket fuel alone. It burns too hot and too fast. You know this instinctively. You know that if you confront him with this newfound knowledge, with this printout of his own tactics, he'll just use it against you. He'll tell you that you're obsessed, that you're living in a fantasy world, that you're using psychology buzzwords to attack him. He wrote the rule book on this game. Trying to beat him at it is a fool's errand. The only winning move, as the saying goes, is not to play. So the rage cools. It doesn't disappear, but it crystallizes. It transforms from a hot, messy emotional fire into something cold, hard, and sharp, like obsidian. You close the laptop, the light from the screen vanishes, and you're back in the dark room, but you're not the same person who opened it. The ghost is gone. The hollowed-out shell is gone. Something else is sitting there in the dark. Something with a plan.
Your new strategy has a name, though you might not know it yet. It's called Going Gray Rock, and you become a master of it overnight. The principle is simple. A narcissist gets bored with a rock. A rock doesn't react. It doesn't cry. It doesn't argue. It just sits there. So you become the most boring, uninteresting, gray rock you can be. It's a bizarre reversal. Before, you were pretending to be happy to survive. Now, you pretend to be empty to escape. You perfect the art of the one-word answer. How was your day? Fine. What do you want to do this weekend? Whatever. You give him nothing. No emotional reaction, no argument, no supply, as the experts call it. When he tries to pick a fight or lay a logic trap, you just look at him with a placid, bovine dullness. You don't take the bait. You are a wall. You are a void, and it drives him nuts. He pokes and prods, trying to get the reaction he's used to, but he gets nothing. It's like a bully trying to get a rise out of a statue. For the first time, you feel a flicker of power. You're not playing his game anymore. You're just a boring rock, waiting for him to get tired and wander off to find a more interesting toy. Being a rock is a good defense, but it's not an escape plan. The next step is terrifying. You have to breach the wall of isolation he so carefully built. You have to make a call. You scroll through your contacts, past all the names you haven't spoken to in months, and you land on Sarah. Your best friend, the one he said was competitive and a bad influence. Your thumb hovers over her name. This is harder than any confrontation with him. A wave of shame washes over you. What do you even say? Hey, sorry I've been a ghost for a year. Turns out my boyfriend is a master manipulator who convinced me you hated me? It sounds insane. What if she's angry? What if she doesn't believe you? What if she says, I told you so? You take a deep breath, close your eyes, and you press the button. You hear the ringtone, each one a separate eternity. And then, a voice. Hello? It's her. And she doesn't sound angry. She just sounds surprised and worried. You start talking, and you can't stop. It all comes out in a flood. The keys, the sensitivity, the forgotten conversations, the isolation, the receipt, the word gaslighting. You're sobbing. You're rambling. You're sure you sound like the crazy person he always said you were. You finally run out of breath and there's a silence on the line. You brace yourself for judgment. And then Sarah says the 5 words that save your life. I believe you. What's the plan? And just like that, you're not alone anymore. The dam of isolation has broken. That one voice of sanity from the outside world is enough to anchor you back to reality. The planning begins in whispers. Secret texts while he's in the shower. A clandestine coffee meeting where you feel like a spy. You open a new bank account online and have the debit card sent to Sarah's address. You start looking at apartment listings in incognito mode. You pack a go bag with your important documents, a change of clothes, and a little bit of cash, and you hide it at the back of your closet. Each small act of rebellion feels like a monumental victory. You're not just a rock anymore. You're a saboteur, quietly dismantling your prison from the inside. You're a saboteur, quietly dismantling your prison from the inside. And then the day comes. D-Day. He leaves for work, the same routine as any other Tuesday. The kiss on the cheek that you don't flinch from. The "have a good day" that you echo back with perfect, rock-like emptiness. The moment the front door clicks shut, it's like a starting gunfires. The silence of the house is deafening, electric. Every second is precious. You don't run. You move with the calm, focused precision of a bomb disposal expert. You grab the go bag, the one that's been sitting in the back of your closet like a promise. It feels heavier than you imagined, weighted with the future. You do one last sweep of the apartment, not for forgotten items, but for forgotten pieces of yourself. You look at the couch where he delivered his fake apologies, the kitchen where he questioned your memory. It's not a home, it's a crime scene. And you're finally leaving. You walk out the front door into the bright, indifferent sunlight. You don't look back. You put the key in the lock one last time, turn it, and walk away. You don't know exactly where you're going, but for the first time in forever, you know it's forward. You make it to Sarah's apartment, the designated safe house. You collapse on her couch, and the adrenaline finally gives way to a tidal wave of trembling relief. And then, right on cue, your phone starts to buzz. It's him. The first text is confusion. Hey, where are you? Then, manufactured concern. Babe, I'm getting worried. Please call me. Then comes the love bombing, the desperate promises. I miss you so much. I'll do anything. I'll change. When that doesn't work, the mood darkens. The guilt trips. How could you do this to me after everything I've done for you? And finally, the anger, the true face behind the mask. You're making a huge mistake. You'll come crawling back. This predictable cycle, the one that used to terrify you, now just looks pathetic. It's the desperate tantrum of a king who's discovered his subjects have abandoned the kingdom. With Sarah sitting next to you, a quiet, solid presence, you look at the screen. You see his name, and with a strange sense of ceremony, you press block. The stream of messages stops. The silence that follows is the sound of absolute freedom. Here's a secret they don't tell you. Healing is awkward. It's not a graceful montage of you jogging in the sunset. It's clumsy. It's messy. For weeks, you feel like an alien learning to be human again. Simple decisions are agonizing. Sarah asks, "What do you want for dinner?" And you stare at her blankly, a wave of panic rising in your chest. An opinion? A preference? The machinery for that has been offline for years. You have to learn to trust yourself again, starting with the small things. Yes, I do want pizza. No, I don't like that movie. Each tiny assertion of self is a victory. It's like learning to walk again. Your legs are wobbly, your balance is off, and you're terrified of falling. You still hear his voice in your head, a phantom echo criticizing your choices, telling you you're being difficult. But now, you have a new voice, your own, and it's getting stronger. It's the voice that says, "It's okay. You're allowed to have a preference. You're allowed to take up space." You are rebuilding your own mind, one wobbly, uncertain, and glorious step at a time.
And then, slowly, you start to come home to yourself. You go back to that pottery class. You sink your hands into the cool, wet clay, and you don't hear his voice calling it a silly hobby. You just feel the wheel turn. You create something lopsided and imperfect, and you love it because it's yours. You meet up with friends, and you tell a loud, obnoxious joke, and you laugh from your belly without worrying if you're being too much. You start to rediscover your own taste in music, in books, in everything. It's a process of excavation, of digging up the person you buried and reintroducing yourself to her. It's thrilling. The world, which had been painted in 50 shades of anxious gray, slowly starts to regain its color. The green of the trees looks greener. The taste of coffee is richer. The joy isn't a frantic, desperate thing anymore. It's quiet. It's solid. It's real. You're not just surviving anymore. You're actually, finally, living. You don't get through something like this unscathed. There are scars. There are days when a certain phrase or a tone of voice will send a phantom chill down your spine. But you don't just heal back to who you were. You evolve. The experience, as horrific as it was, gave you a superpower. A finely tuned, grade A, built-in bullshit detector. Your gut, the thing you were taught to mistrust, is now your most reliable narrator. You can spot manipulation in the wild with terrifying accuracy. You didn't just escape the prison. You memorized the blueprints. The story stopped being about him the moment you walked out that door. It was never really about his sickness. It was about your survival. And now, your recovery. You look in the mirror today, and you don't see a stranger or a victim. You see a survivor. You see a woman who walked through the funhouse, saw the distorted mirrors for what they were, and found her way out. And that person? You recognize her. You trust her. And you will never, ever let anyone make her disappear again.